think we're recording. So if you listen to the recording later and you have all this beginning talk, it's just because I'm still figuring this whole thing out. Don't use it often enough yet. Okay, so we're on chapter 5. Does anybody know what happens next week?
Enron.
Enron! Very good. I have to figure out where we put the recording because I don't know. Because we have a censored version. So has anybody watched the Enron movie before? Okay. So you know how they have the titty bar scene? Yeah, that one's censored out. You can still hear, don't do like my class did last year and start chatting because you think it's funny that it's censored. You got to listen because they're still talking and it still means something. And if you skip it, you might miss something important.
Always important things that end bad.
Go away. Thank you. From the beginning. Freedom of expression. This is not my favorite chapter. Just saying. So,
Sorry.
don't mind freedom. I just disagree with a lot of what people get away with in the name of freedom of expression. Freedom of speech.
Are you recording?
Huh?
Are you recording?
I am recording. Why?
So freedom of expression my neighbor did. I wanted to go down.
Yeah. Let me do this real quick because otherwise it's gonna. I'll forget. Oops. He's here. He's here now too. Save. Close. Don't forget that if you are absent at any time, you need to do. I flipped everything again. You need to write your paper, otherwise it counts against you. I have not entered grades for attendance yet. So when I do, I have a feeling it's going to sneak up and bite some people. So you have until this Saturday to get any in that you've missed. All you got to do is pull up the PowerPoint slides, go through, pick out one of the discussion questions, and write a one-page paper over it. If you write me a paper and it's not a one-page paper, you will lose points. I was asked, if you can't write an entire page on one subject or one topic, then you can write on 2 different ones. Just, I don't know. I think most people can write on the one. They just put filler in there. It's up to you. Either way is fine. From the beginning. So I know that we had a pretty empty room last week, so a lot of you are gone. So a lot of you need to write the paper for me or take a 0. And I think the attendance is 20% of the grade. So you can calculate, we have what, 16 classes? I don't count, I don't count week 8 and week 16 because you have the option of skipping coming here to take your test and taking it at the LRC or taking it for Proctor U. And the reason why is, do you see any computers in this room? Makes it very hard to take an online test. So those 3 people can easily take the test in this room. But everybody else might have some issues unless you have a laptop to bring, and not everybody has a laptop that they can bring that's reliable. So it's up to you. I don't care where you take it. It's your choice.
Still lab.
Do what?
Still lab for
No. Simply because then I would have to be in the lab doing it, and that means that the people couldn't bring their own laptops to do it if that's what they wanted to do. So it wouldn't work so well. I mean, if you really just could not go to the LRC in their open times, then I guess you could ask Jairus to proctor it for you. But I even gave you an extra day so that the people who wait till the last second and then discover that, oh my gosh, the LRC is closed on Saturday, duh, they can go on Sunday. You just have to watch it because sometimes for holidays, they will be closed on the weekend and then you're kind of screwed.
And they asked Ken not to make Sunday the last day because they're manning. Because he just changed our midterm to Monday because of that reason.
Problem is that I have people who can't make it on the weekdays because their hours are sometimes
Oh, no, I'm just
squirrely.
saying,
Like they close at 5 o'clock.
See,
Well, if they complain, then we'll see. But I mean,
I was just saying, 'cause they
yeah.
asked him not to make Sunday.
What I
fine.
did last semester is I said that anybody who was taking my crypto class that had a laptop could come and take that one with me because it's easier than taking it in LRC. But I'm not teaching crypto this year because literally on the test days my room was like so packed there was like almost no seating because I had that many people coming in to take it with me instead of going to the LRC. So I don't think we'd have that problem in here because there's a lot more chairs in here than there were upstairs. Because I was upstairs in like 2 something. I don't know. This is my normal classroom, so that was just a weird semester for me. And we still have all these stupid little things. Okay, so what's the First Amendment?
Freedoms of speech, press, and religion.
Okay, why is that important? Anybody, doesn't have to be you. Okay, do they have that in all countries?
No.
Really? How many countries have freedom of speech or freedom of?
Majority of
Maybe I need to make that an assignment. I think that would be an awesome assignment to research the laws in different countries regarding religion, speech, and expression. Because is it illegal in most countries to burn the flag for that country? What happens if you burn the flag for that country? It depends on what country you're in, doesn't it? So maybe I'll do that. I think I might, because I think that would be really fun for this week, because of what the topic is, to do that. So y'all get lucky because I'm not changing it in the middle of the semester because people have already probably started on it. But next semester I need to remember to do that. Don't let me send me an email real quick and remind me to do that because I think that'd be fun.
Only because you're doing it next semester and not this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't y'all think that would be fun? Yes, sir.
The EU, all the countries that make up the EU, have the freedom of expression, the right of information is guaranteed. Their rights to express own speech, right to press, also guaranteed. Censorship is not permitted. Freedom of expression, the right to seek and disseminate information may be limited by law in case of measures necessary to in democratic society protecting the rights and freedoms of others.
That's in the Schengen area, which is like Norway, Sweden, Finland. They also do that, but in Germany you can't express any Nazi symbols. That's not exactly true. I mean, you can't fly a swastika in Germany.
Yeah, and now they just unbanned having swastikas in games and such, but they can't really show Hitler at all in most media.
It has to be an educational reason to show a Nazi symbol.
It's kind of like here, people throw a fit if someone displays the Confederate flag. Should they be allowed to display
Or
the
like
Confederate?
blackface, that's how bad they are about it.
See, I don't see a problem with the Confederate flag. It's part of our history. It depends on what they're doing in conjunction to showing the flag. I mean, if they're dressing up all in white with masks on their face, that's a little different than just displaying the flag. And I was really surprised that people still do that. I didn't realize that it was still a thing. So, yes, I've had my head buried under the sand. So,
The irony of the flag wasn't a Confederate flag, it was a guy on the beach. So.
Yeah, it was the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia, wasn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, but people take it to be
Don't
symbolic.
you have to win the war in order to fly the flag? I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but
Well, it's not being flown. I mean, maybe in some places, but most places don't fly it. They just, they display it. I mean, a lot of people have it displayed, like sometimes in their car. I mean, their house, maybe on their personal property, flying it. But I mean, that's
It
different.
was at a state capitol, and just recently
They removed it.
they removed it.
I mean, even if it was the Confederate flag, it would be technically the flag of an enemy country.
No, it was still our country.
Well, the North
when the South seceded, it became a different country.
That's what the
They
war was
didn't
about.
secede.
We
They
never
tried to
accepted
secede.
They tried to secede, and so.
But they did not
attempted
technically secede. Therefore, I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
They secede, and then after the war, they made it illegal they made it impossible for states to secede as part of the Constitution.
freedom of speech, nonverbal, visual, and symbolic forms of expression, right to speak anonymously. Is anything ever truly anonymous? Depends on how you're doing it, but 99% of the time, especially if it's done through any sort of electronic media, it's not anonymous. They can track that. It was funny because we were reading a book. I can't remember what book it was, but they actually were able to track this guy who committed these crimes. He was using burner phones, so he thought that he was safe. The problem is that he called pretty much the same numbers on each of the phones, and he used them all in the same location. So it was like they could pinpoint it. We were watching a movie last night, 94. Maybe it's a TV show. No, it was last night. We were watching. Huh?
Is it Better Call Saul?
No, it was like a bad B movie. Not really B. Ken called it C. It was with Keanu Reeves, and he was trying to sell like stolen diamonds. Anyway, he was carrying burner phones around, and he kept changing the SIM card, and he kept changing the phone, but yet he was calling the same person from each of the phones, and he was in the same location when he was doing it. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I know better because I read that book. They can still track him based on the numbers that he's calling and the location it is. Because, I mean, he would call the person, switch phones, and call the person again. And so I'm like, okay, he just gave away that it's the same person using the phone.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
could
like,
track their number instead of.
yeah, I mean, they can track all of the phones that are coming from a certain location and track them very easily. So anyway, I just thought it was funny because, well, we had read the book, and so I knew that. And it was interesting to me. So reading is actually really good. Does not protect perjury and fraud. What's perjury?
Lying in court.
Yeah. Has anybody committed perjury ever that you're willing to admit to? Don't worry. If you raise your hand, nobody's going to see you on the video. Okay. Defamation and obscene speech, incitement of panic, and incitement to crime. Okay, so according to that, the people who incite those, when they set fire to everything.
Arson.
No, when you have a
Protests
mob.
and everything.
Yeah, when you have the mob and they all like.
Riot?
Yeah, riot.
Yeah.
Thank you. And they can actually prove that certain that people do it, and they still don't. They don't make them pay for it, which I think is stupid. I think that they should go after them all.
Yeah.
I mean, they won a game and they went out and they destroyed the city.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, that's stupid. And I mean, literally, they can ping all of the phones and they can find out who was in that area. And I'm sure that there were plenty of videos posted that they could see who was doing what. I'm just saying. Sorry, that kind of made me mad.
Fighting words.
Fighting words and sedition. How would you clearly distinguish between hate speech versus speech that is merely annoying, critical, or offensive? Would you be willing to defend someone's right to use annoying, critical, or offensive speech? How would you respond if such speech were directed at you or a loved one? Okay, I'm going to throw a name out there, and I want to know what you think. Westboro Baptist Church. Huh? Is that hate speech, or is that speech just merely annoying, critical, and offensive?
First Amendment doesn't protect you from being punched. I mean, it protects you from having the government come and
Yeah.
mess with you, but it doesn't protect you from me punching you or,
Yeah, but then they could possibly file charges on you for assault too,
They
though.
do, actually, that's how they fund themselves. They go out there and they start all that shit, and then people freak out, and then they sue them, and they win. They're all lawyers. All of them. They have their own law firm.
I was reading something that somebody slashed all their tires in the town they were in. Like everybody who could fix it just refused to do service with them.
Well, I mean, they kind of ruin service for themselves, because who's going to want to help someone who's over there boycotting a military funeral or a child's funeral? I don't care how they died. I don't care if they killed themselves. You still don't do that. That's just insane.
morally, but they have the right to.
Which I think needs to be changed. But of course, then if you
But
change
change
that,
that,
then,
It's like a double-edged sword,
Yeah, I
right?
know.
And
Can't do
I
it.
know,
it's gonna come.
unfortunately.
That's why I have employee counsel. You got the freedom, just like my neighbor. You got the right to say what he wants.
Oh, did he have
I just had to send me an email.
about deploying?
No, about something about my house and stuff. He's just an old,
Because
he's an old bastard.
he wasn't being taken care of while you were gone.
That, yeah, certain things, whatever. He complained, there we go,
Gotcha.
telling me how to live my life and what needs to be done in my house.
Yeah.
Because he has nothing better to do, sit in his damn house and drink alcohol and stay drunk. And his wife works, I think, to get away from his old ass.
Okay.
I'm talking about it.
I'm glad we got all that language on my recording now. I appreciate that. Way to bench. Okay, anybody else? I don't know if anybody can top that, but hey, opinions.
Did research about it too.
Stuff that happened with Alex Jones.
Do what?
Stuff that happened with Alex Jones. So.
Okay, tell us what it was.
He's the guy who claimed that the government was putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay.
Oh, yeah,
What?
I remember now.
Okay, I never heard that.
That's usually what people know.
Alex Jones. He claimed that those poor children who were murdered in Connecticut it was all fake, and all those parents are just trying to get sympathy from the world, and those parents had to move like 6 times. I'm not exaggerating. Like 6
He also got
times.
banned from Twitter.
You guys
I mean, he's got
he got in person.
He takes it beyond speech, though. I mean, the Westboro Baptist Church, say what you want to about it. We all know that they're crazy, but a lot of people don't know that Alex Jones, is nuts.
Sounds more like he's a stalker than just
He gets his
freedom of
people to
speech.
do that. Yeah, it's crazy.
wow.
He makes money off of
Billy
it.
claimed it was a demon and.
He sells super beta prostate on his prepper website.
This one where he's telling about probably talking to aliens or something. One.
He wears tinfoil on his head.
Yeah, he's either like the biggest nut or he's the biggest meme.
Wow.
I just know from all the videos. There's some of the stuff he does is hilarious.
And he was banned
It's serious.
He was banned for having form of social media, YouTube, and most other places.
Yeah, Twitter banned of all. I mean, they've never banned anyone. Except him.
Wow. So would you be willing to defend someone's right to use their speech? If it was directed at you?
If they're not threatening anybody, I wouldn't care.
There's limits. You can't lie. I mean, that's libel, slander, defamation. I mean, one.
Yeah, that was on the last slide.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's I feel like there's laws in place to make it go, like if it goes too far, then yeah, that's why there's laws are in place, like slander and things like that. But I mean, you guys get to go with the bad, double-edged sword, right? Like either, like you were saying earlier, if you put restriction on one thing, and the waterfall effect comes in, and then it's just, all right, well, take that out of the water.
okay, what about freedom of expression? When they destroy things to express themselves. Like with the riots, which technically is illegal.
Right.
Why they didn't do anything about that is beyond me. Like burning the flag.
If it's their own property and it's in a safe way, like I see some people that come over videos where they're like burning a flag that they were in the middle of a crowd, so it was a hazard, that wouldn't be okay, but like if they're just.
But at that point, it didn't matter what they were burning.
Yeah, at that point, it doesn't matter what, but like if it's done properly, whether like you're gonna argue about that, basically as long as it's their own stuff and they're not destroying. Or
I still think it should be illegal.
I mean, you know how we get rid of flags when they've outlived their lives, right?
But that's different. They're doing it as
I mean, they're exercising the rights that we all defend when we go off to war.
I know,
mean,
but
if you're gonna
There was a
serve in the
case
military or
about
work for the military, one of the things that I mean, what else are you protecting except that you're protecting people's rights to do things that you disagree with, and vice versa.
And that's the problem with these people. It doesn't make sense to me, the fact you're stomping and burning something that helps represent the fact of your freedom to stomp it and burn it. It's the symbol of your freedom to be able to do that. So why then would you do that?
Yeah, trust me, I totally understand.
Because it might be a symbol for something that you don't agree with.
Then carry your ass out of my country.
See, I don't understand that sentiment. I served in the military, and one of the things that, I've heard that before, the love it or leave it thing. I mean, if we can't, what is it that we go to war to defend if we're not going to war to defend, what binds us together as Americans, and that's mutual toleration.
I just have a problem with people that hate America so much to do all this stuff. If you don't like it, leave, move.
Well, in point of fact,
And that's my opinion, so
right.
they got the right to do that, but I've also got the right to go, well, if you don't like
I get it.
go.
You understand the irony of it, right?
Correct.
Okay. I've lived in places where you don't have the right to express
Exactly,
yourself.
and that's why.
It sucks. You're treated like a child.
And if people have the ability to change, to affect or change the laws, then why not exercise that ability?
It's all. It is crazy to say, hey, you don't like it, move, but that's, again, my opinion of if you don't like something, change it or move. But,
And
but the reason why you don't move, the reason why all these dumbass actors keep saying, I'll move to Canada, is because they know when they do that, they won't have the same freedoms and rights that they have here to keep opening their stupid mouths.
So can I ask you a question? Would you feel the same way about, say, burning the Bible or burning the Quran? Both of those are symbols too. It's up to a Muslim. A Muslim thinks of it as the literal word of God. So if somebody were to burn a Muslim, burn a Quran,
burn another Muslim.
And I'm not directing this at you. You're entitled to your beliefs. I'm just trying to pin down exactly, where the symbolism ends, and where it picks up.
Well, to me, that's two different questions. Because to me, the flag and whatnot is
the flag represents our
country that represents your freedom to
Did you see
do
what
that.
I'm getting at?
Yeah. And like I said, to me, that's two separate things. No, I don't agree with someone burning someone's religious symbol at all, Quran or Bible.
Okay. At least that's
But
logically
I
consistent.
really don't agree with someone burning something that gives them the freedom to burn it.
I'm not sure that the flag gives us freedom.
It's not gives, but
It's
the
a
symbol
symbol
of
of.
that freedom. People have held that up in a war zone. People have held that up, Iwo Jima, everything symbolizing this is our freedom. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the people I met, the people I lived with,
I wore it on my shoulder.
yeah, that symbolizes something not just to America, but the whole world. And it does symbolize that freedom that we all have. We're all equal, no matter what race, creed, color, religion.
It does symbolize things other than that to a large percentage of the population in this world. But that's neither here nor there.
Correct. Because I met people that, America, you're forcing us, or then other ones are like, thank you, depending on where they stood and what regime. So I just like to say the double-edged of you're stopping and burning something that is the symbol of
Sorry, I didn't
why
want
you
to
can do it.
monopolize.
No.
Yeah. The rest of you guys go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was good.
They do have the right to do it though.
Yeah.
Okay, what is considered obscene speech? Okay, don't actually give me obscene speech, because I'm sure some of you would.
Okay. That would be very.
Okay, speech that can be considered obscene is if an average person finds that the work taken as a whole appeals to the something interest. Work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual contact specifically defined by the applicable state law, or work that taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Okay. Defamation. Ooh, that was short. Statement of alleged fact that is false and that harms another person. Slander is oral defamatory statement. Libel is written defamatory statement. It's harder to deny something that's been written than it is to say something that's been oral. So do y'all feel that maybe there's more obscene speech or more
Categories?
okay, since the invention of social media, people don't have the same filters as they would have if they had to say it to your face. So people say things that they may later regret, but it's out there.
Yeah.
It won't go away.
They'll type something and then probably think, oh God, I probably should have done that. They kick my ass in school.
Yeah, and you can't take it back.
Yeah.
It's kind of like people who send you an email and they retract the email. Can you still see the email?
Yeah.
You can still see what they sent.
It's dumb.
And when they send you an email and then they retract it, what do? You immediately go and look and see what they originally sent. I do anyway. I don't just delete it. Do y'all just delete it, or do y'all go and look and see what it says?
I've never seen that go. That's never happened. So
Well, I always look.
If you open that retraction first one goes, one of the original goes away.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I had an incident when I was in Japan working there. We had somebody that really got pissed off at certain few people, accidentally sent it to the entire building,
Oh
and
no.
then had a retraction. I didn't find out about it until like later that night, because I put the ship at that point. And I went to go look for it, and I opened the more recent one that came back, which was a retraction, and then I saw the original disappeared. And I was like, oh, great, I can't read it.
But if you
Yeah,
have
it was a little-
I didn't know that because I always go back and look at it. I always go back and look at the original one before I
You have a
actually
preview.
open it. I didn't realize it disappeared like that.
do a preview, don't you? Where
Yeah.
you can read, yeah, that's, so you can see things without opening.
Mhm.
So it doesn't count on that second one until you actually open.
Yeah, I read
Controlling access to information on the internet. Telecommunications Act purpose was to allow freer competition among phone, cable, and TV companies. Communications Decency Act, Title V of the Telecommunications Act that aimed at protecting children from pornography. So does all this really work? If you enable parental controls, can they still go in and see stuff? Do they not find ways around all the controls that you put on there?
They want enough, they're gonna get it.
no security is perfect.
My students were telling me that their parents had put parental controls on stuff, but they were able to go ahead and go in and see it by just bypassing a couple of small things. And I'm like, well, that's nice. Of course, I don't think my kids were ever smart enough to figure any of that out, but that's beside the point. I don't know that they ever looked for certain things that we had blocked. We didn't block that much.
All those kids that thought Snapchat was private, yeah, right.
So that's one of the examples I use for my students. Is like, is Snapchat private? Does it go away and is it gone after 30 seconds or whatever when they look at it? No. One, you can screenshot it. Two, you can take a picture of it with another phone. It's out there. And people do it all the time. Yeah, you may get notification that so-and-so just screenshotted it, but by that point, he's already sent it out to every single person that he knows.
So we're sending those
Where's
pics.
Snapchat?
That'll be-
I'm behind the times.
Snapchat sucks.
I like the chat roulette thing where you get on there and there's some guy.
No, it's not.
They take pictures, or it started out where you just take pictures and you send it to select people, and then it stays for like, they only get to see it for 30 seconds and then it's gone.
Okay.
Supposedly version.
But you can screenshot it,
Yeah, so it's like,
so it's not really
Yeah.
gone.
So you had all these teenagers sending photos of themselves to each other thinking they were safe. And even adults.
And like at Carl Albert, they got in trouble because they Snapchatted a naked photo, and it went around the school. And what do you think?
Child
Well, actually, I think it was of a teacher.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how this kid got it. I don't know
that
if he
happened
was,
at Del City as well.
I don't know if he actually was going through her phone or what. All I know is that it went around. I don't know the specifics other than the fact that they were not allowed phones for months.
Yeah, that was right.
But yeah, it went around the school, and the kid actually tried blackmailing the school.
Interesting.
So basically, he got kicked out of school. I mean, obviously, they're not going to let someone stay that's trying to blackmail the school for that kind of thing. Anyway, I think he wound up. I think they actually gave him, like, I don't know if it was jail or if it was juvie, but yeah,
Blackmail for what? Good grades or money?
I think it was for money to take it down or to delete it or something. I don't remember exactly. My daughter told me a little bit, but I mean, that's secondhand, so I don't know the full story.
Yeah.
I just know that they had the news out at Carl Albert, and they did a phone call and let us know that there was something going on, but they didn't give us specifics.
At Del City, like either earlier this year or last year, I heard that one of the students got a hold of a teacher's phone and airdropped a explicit photo of them to
See, I think that
everyone in the room.
I think that was what happened at
And
Carl
everyone
Albert.
that passed by, anyone in the room, anyone that passed by,
That's always fun.
yeah. So it spread really fast, and
So you said that was Del City, because that sounds like what happened at Carl Albert.
It might.
And it was
I might be wrong. You could have been that one.
because I only heard of one school, and it made the news because, well, I mean, that's illegal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When I was in school, we just had to deal with bullies. Not just
I know, right? We didn't have all this technology stuff screwing stuff up. There's a lot more going on. I mean, you have that, and then you have, active shooters, and you have all sorts of other stuff that you have to deal with. It's crazy in schools nowadays.
That's why it's better not to get into technology at all. It's like, I have a 15-year-old, I'm like, when you're 18, do whatever you want.
Well, we gave my daughter one when she was in middle school because she had after-school band practice and all this other stuff. And she only had it on the days that she was going to those rehearsals. Otherwise, it was the home phone. It stayed at home. It wasn't until she got into high school that we finally let her keep it. And now we've got a rule at 6 p.m. Nobody is allowed a phone, not even us. The phones go on the table in the middle of the living room, and we spend time together as a family and no phones. Because otherwise, we all do it.
Practice, yeah.
We all do it now. I mean, even I,
Yeah,
when I was sitting there.
grown-ups,
When I was sitting there last night, I kept wanting to reach for my phone, and it was like I didn't have a phone. And I was sitting there going, man, I need to be checking my emails. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that, and I couldn't do any of it.
Do not disturb is the greatest feature ever on Apple iPhone. I set that sucker at 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on whether it's weekend or not. That's it.
The problem with that for me is that if there's an emergency, we don't have a home phone.
Yeah, you just call
And
twice.
I have had, if you call twice, it goes
Yeah.
through? Oh, okay.
Well, you can set it up, yeah.
And if you
multiple
get certain
calls.
people, it'll let certain people's calls.
Huh.
You can set people up to where they can get through immediately, or you just call twice if it's important.
So I may have to do that.
It's
Because
great.
the only ones that I'll answer in the middle of the night is if it's from my dad or my sister.
Have you seen the drunk texting app where it locks your phone and you have to do algebra?
No.
That's
Now, I've seen the website Drunk Text.
You have to start doing like.
See, I need that. Does it lock the phone where you can't even get into the phone?
Yes.
See, I need that because I drunk shop.
It gives you a list of
Drunk.
I do. I got something in the mail. I was like, I didn't order this. And I actually looked and I did. I ordered it when I was drunk.
on your screen. It'll have 5 buttons, which are your 5 closest friends in case you have to call somebody for help, and it has 911, of course. But you can call those 5 people, and it has to be a voice phone call, and you designate those people when you're sober.
See, I need that because I don't have a problem with the drunk texting so much as the shopping. Yeah.
I mean, if you're good at math, it's not gonna really matter.
I don't know how my brain would be functioning after I've had like
Right.
a dozen
You know,
beers or
differential
whatever. So,
equation, differential equation.
not that I drink that often, but there are those occasions, and so it's like, do what?
Exactly.
Differential equation is when you have a variable on both sides.
Okay, controlling access to information on the internet again. So there are some countries that filter what's allowed on the internet.
China.
Okay. I have actually a friend that's living in China right now. She and her husband. She has they call them seizures. Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's actually epilepsy, but it's like that. And she burnt down 2 of their houses. One of them was an apartment, and so they got kicked out and they had no place to live. And so they went to China. And so they're both teaching English to Chinese
So they
kids
lived before they lived in China?
here. I actually went to school with her husband.
Her epilepsy causes fires.
No, she was cooking and she had a seizure.
What?
She was cooking and had a seizure.
Oh,
And then the other time she had started a candle and she had lit a candle next to her bed or something, and she had a seizure and it knocked over and it caught the bedroom on fire.
So they're kicked
Yeah.
out. So they were kicked out of the country?
No.
No, they just
They just had a better opportunity. And the good thing is that she's only had like 1 seizure since she went over there. So it makes you wonder, is it the additives in our food and then processed food? Because over there, they buy things every day, fresh food.
breathe that air sometime though.
The air is horrible.
Chinese.
Very bad air quality in China because they don't have regulations on it.
Wow.
It's terrible. I mean, it's like being inside of a garage.
But they love it. They love it. They love the teaching there. So I don't know. I think it's awesome. But he and I went through the cybersecurity program together. Do what?
She didn't get a service animal to tell her that she's getting ready to have a seizure.
Mm-mm. Yeah, they are. Internet filter, software that blocks access to certain websites that contain material deemed inappropriate or offensive. Most businesses are going to have internet filters. All schools have internet filters. Rose State probably even has an internet filter. Yeah, I was going to say, I do not know of any business that does not have one, and schools are they definitely have them. And my students, when I told them that, they decided that they needed to go and Google keywords. And I'm like, don't do that, because they're going to know exactly who did that.
You get put on a list.
And then they're going to be like, why is someone in Mrs. Dewey's class searching for this on the internet? Seriously, I don't want that. So yeah, there's different ways you can set it up. Children's Internet Protection Act. Do what?
I remember there's a certain something that I remember there's some kind of act that and I know I had children in the name. I know it got like cut out or replaced with something else.
Oh yeah.
It might have been called.
It's like simulated child porn. They ruled that it wasn't equal to have like cartoon characters. It was in the book. I mean,
Wow.
It was in your assignment.
Yeah, well, I haven't read everything in the book. I read parts of the book. I skipped over parts of the book, but I don't like that. That's.
But I mean, the point they made was that simulated child sex acts that would preclude Romeo and Juliet because the original she was like 13, 12, something like that.
That was also a time where that was.
That's different because they were both young. I mean, that's kind of like saying that it's illegal for all these kids who are pregnant in high school.
That particular law would have applied to Juliet.
Oh.
It would have applied to whatever.
Gotcha. Well, I can see why they passed that.
It may sound bad at first, but I guess the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, once you actually look into it, I guess I need to go back through the textbook. Thought I did good just reading what I did read. Apparently that wasn't good enough. Do you think further efforts to limit the dissemination of pornography on the internet are appropriate? Why or why not?
Just a waste of time trying to limit it whenever they're just going to find it anyway.
I mean, is it something that's new?
No.
Is it something that just came about because of the age of the internet? Really? It was around before internet?
Magazines.
Yeah.
Okay, how was it around?
Magazines.
What's a magazine? When was the last time you picked up a magazine of any kind?
The Austin Basic Instinct when it was like 12 years old. I mean, yeah.
I just think it's funny because I'm like, okay, who actually reads magazines? Unless you're in a doctor's office and you're reading.
Right.
Now, I do have a few that have been given to me because everybody's like, Virginia likes Harry Potter, and so they buy me the Harry Potter, editions of, like whatever. And then they just sit there because I don't really read magazines. If I want to read something, it's usually online. Now, the only magazine that I would really like to have a subscription of is Magpie. Everybody know what Magpie is? Okay, it's the one for the Raspberry Pi, and it has all sorts of little awesome things about projects and stuff. So I've just been getting the digital version, but trying to tell my students at Middell, hey, yeah, you've got a link right there. Why don't you go to that link and look through there and get some ideas for your new project? No, I have one copy that I got when we had, the Raspberry Pi birthday thing that they did.
Pi Day?
The Pi Day that they did up here last year. Except for it was for Raspberry Pi's birthday, so I don't know if it was actually on that date. But they had that, and there was in the little kit that they gave them, they had a couple of magazines, and I swiped one when nobody was looking. So not that there's evidence now, but and so I had that, and so I gave that to one of the students, and it's like everybody was lining up to use the magazine. I'm like, okay, there's better ones on the one that I put on our Google Classroom. It's got the robotics one. Those are awesome. And they still wanted to wait and use the physical magazines. That was weird. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, you can try to limit pornography, but there's no way you're going to be able to get rid of it. people are going to find ways around it, even if it's going to the dark web. It's just, it's fighting a losing battle, I think. But that's my personal opinion. Anybody have a different opinion?
What's the question?
Let's go on this.
Do you think further efforts to limit dissemination of pornography on the internet are appropriate? Why or why not?
I think the lotion's on the call.
It's legal, so there's no, how are we gonna limit something that's legal?
Do they limit it in any other countries?
Saudi Arabia,
Probably.
No.
I think.
Saudi Arabians just come on over to freaking Kuwait and everywhere else and have sex.
Maybe
with
I need to have that as another.
They come to Bahrain. They come to Bahrain and party and have a good time with little boys and girls and whatever. Then they go back to Saudi Arabia. Oh, I'm so clean and pure. Sorry.
I never saw that, so.
I lived over there with
I was born there, so.
All right, I may have to make that another project of some sort. Internet censorship, control of publishing or accessing information on the internet. We don't do that here, do we?
They're trying.
Not as much as other countries.
Limiting access to certain websites, allowing access to only some content or modified content at certain websites. Some countries are really bad about this. Like you'll be able to pull up the website and everything's blocked out.
Country has like 5 websites.
Yeah.
Who does?
Everywhere else bad.
Yeah, I think one of my students was born in South Korea, so she goes back there periodically. And I think she was the one that was telling me how it's so limited whenever they go. Rejecting the use of certain keywords in search engine searches, tracking the internet activities of individuals, jailing individuals for their use. That would be another one we should do research on, finding out what countries do that. We used to have an assignment on here that was looking at, it was like a journalism thing, where they document which countries are favorable to journalists and which ones aren't.
Press freedom index.
And I removed that this semester because I was getting really, really angry because people were so fixated on 2014 because it had the United States in it, and they wouldn't look at the most current version. And in the instructions, I specifically said the most current version, but they were so fixated on the fact that, oh my gosh, the United States was on the list, that they disregarded everything else. And it made me mad, and I was taking off so many points that, I was like, forget it, I'm done. We're moving on. I found a different assignment for y'all.
I remember this is one video, and it was in Russia. A guy with a lady saying they were reporting the news or something, and 2 guys came up and just arrested him. The camera recorded them all, just grabbing him, carrying him off screen.
Where was that?
It was in Russia. It was in Russia, Moscow. He's talking about some kind of gang violence or something like that. Maybe, I can't remember exactly. He's talking about some kind of violence or something, and these 2 men came up, grabbed him, and took him off the screen.
We can't have you talking about us. Get out of here.
Well, it's kind of like in North Korea. If you actually go to North Korea, or if you're insane enough to go to North Korea, I mean, you're not allowed to take pictures. You're not allowed to write about anything.
You can take something.
Yeah, you can take pictures.
Well, of areas that they approve.
Right.
And they want to see everything that you take a picture of. And then if you actually get to leave the country, you're pretty lucky, because sometimes they drum up charges against you, even if you didn't actually do it. Because
that whole debate on that one kid from Ohio who took that poster,
I got botulism, yeah.
and then they're saying that how they had these experts look at the videotape. They're all like, this guy really who's taking down the poster doesn't match his type description at all of who they charged the kid with. Yeah. And then they're all like, it doesn't even look like he's this tall. It's the cameras are crappy. You couldn't make him out. It's all blocky. The character, the shadow doesn't even look like it's the same height as him.
Did he steal a poster or did he leave a Bible? I know one of them.
It was
he was removing posters.
Bible in a bathroom.
Yeah, and then he claimed that so in his speech, everyone was confused because when he went to testify, a lot of people thought North Korea made him say it, but he said that the church that he was going to made him take the poster so they can hang it up and do all this bad stuff with it, do rituals or whatever to say basically scream with Korea. And then he was like crying and everything.
So did he actually do it, or did he just confess to it because they told him that they weren't gonna let him go unless he confessed?
That's like, no one saw his bag, no one saw the poster in it. All they know is that he was crying, confessing that he did it after like 3 days of being held in captivity.
He had botulinum toxin poisoning or something like that. That's what he died. I mean, that gotta be so awful.
I think that they tortured him, and that's. Yeah, see, and after hearing all the stuff, I was like, why would anybody voluntarily go to North Korea?
It's like an adrenaline rush, I would imagine. Because any moment you can just get taken
It's like
out.
Stalin meets Disney World. It's just a little bit bizarre and a little bit creepy. I mean, I saw a video of a woman whose job it was to take scissors and trim the grass with not shears, scissors like you cut hair with, and she's going through measuring the grass, making sure all the grass is. I mean, it was just crazy. You know, that's her job, is to cut grass with scissors.
Could you imagine how tired your hands get after a while? I mean,
Yeah.
I have trouble even when I'm sewing, cutting for very long. That's just.
And even the citizens on rations too, it's just like, man.
Just like we have all the.
But there's a country they won't make, we can't feed everyone. They don't have enough space in their country to grow enough food to feed their population.
Overcrowded.
Because they also don't import very much.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
anything.
Well, I mean, they have such great relations with all of their neighbors. I don't understand that. Now, I would love to go to Korea, but I would definitely never set foot in North Korea.
I think it's just for the fact that it's easier to control the starving population.
That too.
I mean, they're starting because the Soviet Union collapsed, not because, I mean, you know, they were getting subsidies from the Soviets for, what, 40 years?
Strategic lawsuit against public participation. Yes, slap. Employed by corporations, government officials, and others against citizens and community groups who oppose them on matters of public interest. Anti-slap laws designed to reduce frivolous slaps. Quickly identify if there are any merits to the lawsuit, helping keep lawyer fees to a minimum. Anonymity on the internet. Anonymous expression, opinions expressed by people who do not reveal their identity. Doxing, examination of internet records in order to reveal the identity of an anonymous poster. Because yes, you can figure out who's posting very easily. Well, okay, some people can figure out who's posting very easily. There are those in the community who could not. Anonymous remailer service strips original header and/or IP address from emails before sending the message to the intended recipient. So apparently, our network at Middell got infected by a really horrible virus. I don't remember the specifics because he was telling me about it as he went to judge my student's project. But apparently, certain people got it, and it was from Dr. Cobb, who is like the high person.
The supervisor. It's not supervisor.
Superintendent, yeah. And so they opened it. Well, when they opened it, it automatically sends it out to other people in their mailbox.
Did they spearfish him, or was it for everybody, and he was just the dumb one?
They didn't do it to Mr. Cobb.
Oh.
They made it look like it was from Dr. Cobb.
I got you.
And 3 people actually opened it, which sent it out to other people, but they caught it before those other people had opened it, and so they were able to block it so that it would go away, and so that the other people couldn't open it. And then they blocked it to where it couldn't be sent to anybody else. And so they were in the process of trying to figure out where exactly it came from and getting it off of those machines.
Was it ransomware?
No, it wasn't ransomware. I can't remember what it was, but it.
Should have worm, I guess.
No, it affected some of the core files on the computer. And I can't remember what it was. It's just like eluding me. It'll come to me later though when I'm not trying to think of it. But yeah, it was fun. I was like, you should have just like told me so that my students could come over and watch, because this would have been a really good learning experience for them. But he forgets that my students are supposed to be shadowing him in the PM. And unless I specifically say, hey, can some of my students shadow you today? He doesn't bother to tell me that he's got any work orders. And you know he's got tons of work orders. John Doe lawsuit filed by an aggrieved party against a defendant whose identity is temporarily unknown. Plaintiff can request court permission to issue subpoenas to command a person to appear under penalty. If permission is granted, subpoenas can be served on any third party that may have information about the true identity of the defendant. I don't think you see that too terribly often, though. When the identity becomes known, the complaint is modified to show the correct name of the defendant. Subpoena should be enforced only if it is not issued in good faith and not under any improper purpose. And all the rest of that information.
I'm not seeing with the whole Blake Shelton and, oh my goodness, when they got divorced, it was all done under his lawyer's name.
Oh, to keep it anonymous so that it
Yeah.
wasn't in the
Until
media.
the last day when everything was, the divorce was finalized.
Yeah, see, they've got it kind of rough because they're in the public eye all the time, and so there's no privacy in anything, even if it's painful to
And
go
instead
through.
of doing it down south, they did it Norman or Moore or whatever.
Huh.
But it was all done under the lawyer's name.
So nobody thought anything of it.
Well, because they didn't know at that time.
Yeah.
Well,
She
I
was
mean,
his
it
lawyer.
wouldn't have been brought to attention because, I mean, normal people are not going to be like, oh, so-and-so's going through a divorce. Unless you know the person, you're not going to really say anything. But someone who's in the public eye, like artists and stuff, yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so that just reminded me of that because I was showed up on the news one
See,
day,
I
like, they're
don't follow stuff like that for any like artists or even the ones that I
It was
really
on the
like.
news. That's the
I
only
know,
reason
but
why
I
was
just
like,
I
they got
generally
divorced.
avoid that because I'm like, you know what? They're people too, and I really don't care to hear all about their lives. I don't. I enjoy watching them on the screen, and that's good enough for me. But there's some people who like thrive on watching about their favorite actors and actresses and stuff, and I just or singers, huh?
I'm trying to think of her name. Short blonde singer. I don't know. But yeah, I found it interesting. I showed up on the news one day. Like, hey, what? And they mentioned the facts.
That was not me yawning. That was a figment of your imagination. Hate speech. Persistent or malicious harassment aimed at a specific person. Kind of sounds like bullying. Most
Very similar.
most ISPs reserve the right to remove content that does not meet their standard. Public schools and universities follow the First Amendment as they are agents of the government. A U.S. citizen who posts material on the web that is illegal in a foreign country can be prosecuted if he subjects himself to that country's jurisdiction. Interesting, huh?
Does that mean only if you post it like over there?
Or if you post something and then go there.
I don't know. What do you think?
Probably if you post and then go there, you could be arrested.
You need to China, it's like, hold on, you posted these things, you're going to jail.
Oh yeah, that'll get you in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, to go to most countries, you have to have a visa.
So
And
they could just not.
to apply for a visa, they're going to be able to see, you know, I mean, they do their research. They don't just allow anybody into their country. I mean, when you go through customs to get into just about any country, they ask you a bunch of questions. First, they want to make sure that you're not staying because they want to make sure that you're coming and leaving.
Usually you get a form for that.
Yep, a customs declaration. They actually started doing those on your phone when you get off the cruise ship. Nice. Of course, it didn't work properly because everybody was trying to access it at the last second. But we were able to pull it up and show it to the guy that we filled it out, even if it didn't let us submit it. And they let us through. So we were excited as well. You got to go the shorter. We were like one of the first ones off, so it didn't really matter that we were in the shorter line, but it was still, I mean, cool. Because usually when we get off, we're heading straight to our car, but I think that one we were flying, so that it didn't really help us any. Because when you're flying, you have to wait for transportation to the airport, and then of course you have to wait for the airport, and airports are slow. Okay. Your 15-year-old nephew exclaims, "Oh, wow," and proceeds to tell you about a very revealing photo attachment he just received in a text message from his 14-year-old girlfriend of 3 weeks. He can't wait to forward the image to others in his school using the Snapchat application on his phone. What would you say to your nephew? Are further steps needed besides the discussion on sexting?
Reviewing. I mean, it does matter. You know, one's illegal and one's not.
Do what?
What's
Both
legal?
are illegal.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you
She's sending porn over.
and
But
it's
that's revealing. It doesn't. I mean, you know, a swimsuit is revealing.
Well,
That's my point. Is
I think they're implying.
okay, yeah, it would depend on how
How
revealing it is.
yeah, right. So I mean, it's not small.
But by very revealing, that makes me think it was like a topless photo or something. I mean, that's just what automatically comes to my
I'd rather
mind.
have a conversation with him, his parents, her parents,
Yep.
all of them.
And the fact that him having it on his phone,
That shit can ruin.
he can now get arrested for having child porn.
Yep.
And having a picture of yourself is even telling.
Exactly. Doesn't matter who the porn of,
Yep.
and doesn't matter if you know about the porn.
That wouldn't be good either way. Yeah, I'm always like talking to my daughter. I'm like, "You're not doing any of that, are you?" She's like, "Oh no." So I like sneaker phone her once in a while and go through the photos and stuff just to make sure.
5 years ago, I had web TV. Went to the store, left the steps in at the house. He took making photos of himself and sent them to his Yahoo account. And then he did something else with them and watched what he had accessed. I had to go to Air Force OSI, and I got treated like a criminal because I reported it because I wasn't about to lose my clearance and everything else.
Why did they treat you like a criminal,
Because until they figured out what was going on.
even though you
Because it
reported
was
it and they
mine,
didn't? Oh.
at my house, on base, everything.
Also, like,
Did you explain to him that when he did that, everybody can see it? It's-
Oh, no, he got called into interrogation also. He said it was all an accident.
Mm.
I was like, what the hell? How's it an accident? You sent it to yourself, your own email, and then you sent it again to a different thing. But it was an accident.
How old was he?
13, 14, something like that.
Wow.
But he didn't live with it, he was just visiting at that time for the holidays. So, yeah,
I think he probably learned after going to interrogation, maybe. No?
got it. It's yeah. He never came back to visit.
His choice or his mom's choice?
His choice and mine.
Probably best.
I'm not going to jail for anybody.
No, I don't believe you. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say, I actually wrote a paper on this last semester, and like government is basically so screwed up with this right now, they don't know how to take it on. But they're being very unfair with, you know, guys and girls. Like if a guy is caught sending kind of inappropriate, you know, revealing photo or anything like that, they'll get prosecuted, where a girl will not.
Why?
I guess because it's a guy. I don't know.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they discriminate against the girls at the schools because they can't wear anything that shows their shoulders, yet guys can.
I mean, there is a double standard.
There is, because
Yeah.
the guys can wear a tank top that shows their shoulders, but the girls can't. And the guys can wear shirts that show off their midriff, girls can't.
I mean, when a female teacher speaks with their students, we're all like, you know, that's horrible, but a lot
If
of
a
people
male-
make jokes about it, and then, you know, a male coach speaks with one of the female cheerleaders or volleyball players, and, you know, it's a completely different reaction, and I'm not sure that that's a bad thing, actually. You know, I think the two are different. Having been a teenage boy.
I like the way he kind of grins when he says, yeah.
Not because you're in a position of authority, so which in turn.
See, guys
Bad
can get away with sleeping around and it not really.
I don't know, women get away with it nowadays too.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but
I mean,
it's a lot more noticeable if a girl's done it than if a guy has.
That's what finger sport.
Yeah,
except, was it last night's news? Yeah. People are, I don't know if it's Tinder, one of these hookup dating things. Guys were getting sent to this house here in Oklahoma City, and the moment they got there, they were getting robbed. And it was like 2 or 3 guys and a woman, and they'd go in, and then a couple of guys, when they got there, they thought they were stepping over trash or whatever, but it was the other people that were there tied up. Because the people were like showing up and showing up. Yeah.
You probably had unrealistic expectations.
Well,
If the girl is a supermodel and the guy is a fat, bald, short, you know.
I think the whole point was to show up in this house and get had, well. And so they're showing up like, hey, and then next thing you know, you got 2 or 3 guys beating the crap out of you, tying you up, stealing your crap.
Well, even on Craigslist, it was, kind of tough at times. Like, if it seemed too good to be true, it's like, you better back off, because you probably gonna get robbed.
See, I don't really look at Craigslist, but the only time I ever did, thought it was funny as heck, because there was a girl at OU who would clean houses topless. Because I decided, trying to figure out if I wanted to get a maid or somebody to come clean it. And it was just funny, that was one of the things. She'd come to your house, clean topless, with you there or with you not there.
Did you contact her?
No, I did not. No, I did not.
I was just curious. Not judging.
Maybe if she had a picture.
Topless hair.
Well, there's topless newscasters in Europe, so.
Really?
They have a mirror too, naked news in Seattle.
Oh, really?
I see people nodding their head like they already knew this.
Well, I mean, you never ever cared so much about trade sanctions.
Ken was excited because one of the places we went on the cruise ship had a topless a topless beach. And so he was like all super excited. The only person that walked by that was topless was this really old lady. So I was laughing. I thought it was funny, but he was like, no, I'm ready to go. So to me, it was funny. Pornography. There's no clear agreement within the courts on whether local and national community standards are to be used to judge obscenity. Companies must take reasonable steps to prevent pornography in the workplace. I think most of them do that. They do capture traffic, so if you have it on there, or if your IT person is on your computer and you have it on there, they're gonna probably see it, and then they have to report it.
I was shocked about that 50% of men looking at porn at work, or have been caught looking at porn at work. That's crazy. I mean, I'm not
It's
gonna
crazy.
pretend to be a saint, but I don't think I've ever actually done that at a place that I was getting paid to work.
I know, I mean, yeah, you may do stuff that's not necessarily right to do at work, but I mean, who does stuff that's illegal?
I mean, I have an iPhone. You don't have to use it for work.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're connected to the company's Wi-Fi, and then you're gonna run into the same problem that you had before.
Explain that to your girlfriend or your wife why you got invited. God. Or
No.
worse, your kids.
That would probably not be a fun thing. And the sad thing is that's gonna follow you no matter where you go. Because if they call to check with your former employer, they're gonna see,
I
hey,
hope that they would have mercy on you. I mean,
one would hope. But
unless you're just a cruel bastard.
possession of child pornography is a federal offense punishable by up to 5 years in prison. I think we all know that child pornography is illegal. So y'all heard Ken's story about Laura Lewis at Tulsa University? Okay, I thought everybody had heard it by this point. Even my class has heard it. So when they go to Tulsa, they have a lab at the basement, and that's where the students go and they work on different projects. And then there's like the law enforcement place up on like the 7th floor or one of the top floors. And so if they need help with the case, they get the students at Tulsa University to help with it. Well, they were working on stuff down in the basement, and there was this guy that was sitting in the back corner, back to the wall, and so you couldn't see what he was doing. And day after day, he was sitting back there, and he, from what the story goes, is that Laura said that he just looked like he was just like hating life. It was bad. So Laura finally went over there, and she introduced herself, and she asked the guy what was going on and everything, and he was like, he was working on a child porn case where he was having to download thousands upon thousands of photos.
They have to verify it, doesn't mean that's his job, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he was having to pull up each of the photos and download them so that they could use it in a case. And so for days and days on end, that's all he was looking at was child porn. And you can't unsee that. And so she was like, why don't you just use wget? Has anybody been in forensics? Okay. When you take forensics, you're going to use that. And so he was like, what? And so she was like, yeah, use wget. You can pull all the photos off at once. You don't have to look at them all. And so she helped him, type in the command to pull all the photos off. He didn't have to look at any more of the photos.
Don't you get like APT or
No, it's just a command with
it's a
them.
package manager, I thought.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
And so it enables you to pull stuff off the web,
Right.
off the web. So you'll use it when you do forensics. I had totally forgotten about it, and so now I'm gonna have to come up with something for my students to pull stuff off of the website. What I'm planning on doing is making a server in my back room, and then connecting all of the Linux machines in my back room to it, so that we can have our own private network. Because I can't have any forensics tools up there. I can't download any on the computer because it automatically removes it or blocks it.
Not on your virtual machine?
Huh?
You can't put it on a virtual machine?
No, because I can't download it to put it on there. As soon as I try to download it, even from within a virtual machine, it will not do it. Now I can take my laptop home and do it on my own network, and I can download it. But then the moment I try to put it on the other computers, it gets flagged.
Are you talking about that center?
Yeah.
What Clark did is that we did in the back, we set up our own network.
See, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to set up a server and put stuff on the server so that they have to connect to the server and pull stuff off. And I'll use that for John the Ripper and different. Yeah.
That's what we
Probably do Wireshark.
Activities on that.
But we're rearranging the entire back room, putting all the Macs back there, and then we're going to have all the printers along the wall so that they're out of the way, so that we have more room, and then we're going to put the server over there and then connect everything to it. Now we do have it wired so that the Macs can be on the network, but everything else will be just back there on its own network. But it'll be fun. Can spam, controlling the pornography. And that's it. And I'll let y'all go ahead and get out of here a couple minutes early since I tend to go over and leave y'all here for until 7 o'clock. Don't forget, show up next week. It's going to be fun. You're going to get to watch Enron. Who doesn't want to watch Enron?
I have a question.